Hi, welcome to Whole Foods for Whole People. I'm Zandria, and today we're working with the chicken. Before we get started, I want to talk about the chicken we're using. We're using 2 organic free-range chickens. There is a big difference in taste in our chickens compared to a regular store-bought chicken. If you are unsure, go ahead and try it for a month. Usually you can buy them at your local supermarket. If you want to go beyond that, you can go to a farmer's market or a local farmer. Do it for 1 month and then go back to a chicken that you would normally use, and you will notice a huge difference. The lack of flavor and how sticky the fat is from the chicken will definitely make a difference, show you what a difference there is. So what we're going to do with our chickens is we're going to make wings first. We're going to make chicken wings. What I like to do is if I ever roast a chicken or boil a chicken, I cut the wings off, throw them in a bag or container in the freezer, and then when we have enough, we have wing night. So I've taken the wings off of one chicken. We're going to go ahead and take the wings off this other chicken. I snip off the little tips because there's really nothing on these. We're going to go ahead and cut those off. And then cut the wings off. You can see the joint right there, and you just cut right through there. You can use a knife. I like the kitchen shears. It just works a lot faster for me. And you can pop the joint right there and cut through it. We're going to toss it in our bowl. Here's our other wing. We're going to do the same thing. These are going to go into a 450-degree oven. But before that, they're going to sit and marinate for a little while. Here's our bowl. In our marinade, I've got we're going to have a sweet and spicy chicken. So I've got some peach syrup and some Tabasco sauce I'm going to pour right over the top. We're also going to put in a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt. You can use Celtic sea salt, whatever sea salt you like. I like pink Himalayan, and I like the light gray Celtic sea salt. I've got the minerals in there. You just mix this up, and while we're working on some other parts of our chicken, this is going to sit in that yummy sauce and really start to soak it in. It's going to be almost a glaze on our chicken. So we're going to set this to the side. The next thing we're going to do with this chicken, we have a parchment lined roasting pan. It's a jelly roll sheet that I like to use. It's not the prettiest thing. I make sure it's lined just because I use it at very high temperatures. So with our chicken, it's the backbone up. We're going to cut right along both sides of the backbone and cut it right out of our chicken. And don't throw the backbone away. We'll use it for our chicken stock later on. You can actually roast it right along with the chicken for a little extra roasted flavor in your chicken stock. Again, I like using my kitchen shears. Cuts right through it. We're going to toss that on the pan. Now you can cut through the breastbone right here. See how it kind of opens up for you? Cut right through that breastbone. But if you do that, you will lose some of your juices. So we're going to leave it whole like this. Put it right on our pan. Lovely, beautiful chicken. Cut side down. You can cut off any little extra bits of skin here if you want, or you can just let them crisp up on their own. I usually cut some pieces into it just so it helps render that fat out. And then our baked chicken, just kind of put the legs down. Our baked chicken, we're going to cover in a bit of sea salt and cracked pepper. And we're going to use some fresh sage that I got from our garden. You can use dry sage, red sage, or any other herb that you want. You can also go more of an Asian route. You can use some peaches. You can also use some chili flakes, make it a little spicy. But that's all herbed up for us. We're going to poke a few holes in the super fatty skin over the legs and the thighs, even up towards the front of the breast. And that's going to go in a 450-degree oven, 450 degrees, for an hour. You can pull it out after 50 minutes, but usually an hour works really, really well. That's going to go on the top shelf. The next thing we're going to do is grab our other chicken, And we are going to roast the skin. We're going to make crispy chicken skin. So we're going to take our kitchen shears again, right along the backbone. We're not cutting into the chicken. We are just cutting the skin off the chicken. You'll see fat underneath there. And you can use your knife. I just find it goes much faster with the kitchen shears, and a lot of it will just pull right off the chicken in certain areas. We're going to just cut all this off. Chicken skin is really yummy in like a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. Just use your chicken skin instead of the bacon. You just want to make sure to salt this before we cook it. You can also chop it up and render it in a pan just like you would bacon. Just again, make sure that it is salted. Otherwise, it's not going to have nearly as much flavor. It's just going to be bland chicken skin. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and we will be right back. I did want to show you real quick if you can see this. On the chicken legs, you just want to cut right around the knuckle, cut a line up it, and then you can peel it off. And we're really at the end of taking off the chicken skin. We've not really cut into the chicken. We've just cut the skin off of it. We're going to put that on a foil-lined roasting pan or jelly tray. We're going to spread it out. It needs to be foil-lined. It doesn't really stretch out well on the parchment and stay stretched out. So definitely stretch it on a foil-lined. You want to do it shiny side up. Just stretch it all out. And we have that nice hot 450-degree oven going with our chicken roasting in it. And that's perfect for this. If you have any little bits of skin left or fat on your chicken, you can cut that out because we're wanting to render all that fat off of our chicken. So I usually, again, just cut little bits into it to help render some of that fat off. Put it on our pan. Okay, we want to make sure to season this. So that pink sea salt right over the top. And this is going to go in that 450-degree oven on the bottom shelf. We're going to set a timer for 20 minutes, and then we'll check on that. Start. Okay, next step, we're going to work on our chicken nuggets. There's so much you can do with the chicken. So our chicken nuggets, we've got a food processor right over here. We're going to cut out just a nice big chunk of chicken breast on both sides of the chicken. Now you could go ahead and use your whole chicken for this. Just fillet everything off of it. Don't want any of the gristle in there. Go ahead and cut it into a few chunks. Doesn't need to be super tiny chunks, but a few chunks. Put it in your food processor. Let's go ahead and get the other side. Nice big chunk off of there. Cut that into some pieces. Right in our food processor. I don't usually use the chicken legs for this part, so I'm going to pull those off. Set them to the side. We're going to be using this whole chicken, don't worry. Other leg. Okay, and then I like to add a little bit of dark meat into my chicken nuggets. Gives it a little bit more moisture. So I'm going to cut some pieces of dark meat right off of that thigh. You can feel on the leg, if you've never done this before, you can feel on the chicken thigh where everything is, all those big chunks of meat. And it's okay if you get little bits of fat in there. It's not going to hurt anything. It might just give it a little bit more flavor. I think we're just going to stick with that. Okay, before we get any further in this, we've got a pan here. We're going to start boiling what chicken we have left. We're going to put in our chicken. It's got the bit of white meat left on it, a bit on the thigh. We've also got our chicken legs, little bits that we've cut off. In there we're going to add half an onion into our pot. You can even break it up into a few pieces if you want to. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be taken apart a whole lot. The flavor's going to get in there. Here's some lemon thyme that I've got going. Also some bay leaves. I like bay, so we've got 4 bay leaves. Some dried oregano. I've also got some sea salt and some whole peppercorns in here. So that's going to go right into our pot along with some clean filtered water. Just enough to cover our chicken. Maybe make it start floating a little bit. We're going to set it on the back burner. Put the lid on it. Turn it on high. And once it starts boiling, we're going to let it boil for 10 minutes in there with the lid on. Turn it off. Let it sit for half an hour, and that chicken's going to be ready. You can do the same thing with the whole chicken. Just let it sit for a full hour because that chicken breast is a lot thicker to get through. Okay, back to our chicken nuggets. We've got our food processor over here. Let me move it a little bit closer. Food processor. We're going to throw in a half an onion, roughly chopped, and a little bit of that Himalayan sea salt. Because this is a ground chicken, you can add as much seasoning into it as you want. So your batter doesn't have to be super seasoned on the outside as long as your inside of the chicken has been seasoned well. And we're also going to add in 1 whole egg. Just 1, that's all you need. This one does not need to have bread as a binder because it's a raw chicken. You're not starting out with cooked chicken. Raw chicken, raw egg, and it binds all together. The onion will help hold some moisture in there. And we're going to turn it on. There we go. As soon as everything runs smooth, it's ready to go. Our next step is to freeze this chicken. So I use a cookie scoop right here. Makes the perfect size chicken nuggets. Just scoop them out. I put them on a piece of parchment paper that's been basically glued to a plate. You can do it on a cookie sheet if you have one. My cookie sheet won't fit in my freezer, so we just use a plate. Glue the parchment on with oil, something sticky. That way it doesn't move around on you when you're putting your nuggets on here. So 1 scoop makes a great size. Go ahead and fill up your plate with nuggets. And this is going to go in the freezer for at least an hour. That way it firms up so when you put the batter on it, it doesn't change shape. And then it's ready right away to go in the oven or to be fried or to go back in the freezer and then bagged once it's completely cold. So we've got our chicken nuggets here. Right now they're kind of dome shaped. So what you do, just wet your fingers a little bit. You got a sink. That way the chicken nuggets don't stick to them. You can pat them right down. It just takes a few pats and they make their own lovely little chicken nugget shape. Pat, pat, pat. There you go. These are going to go in the freezer for at least an hour, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes to check on the chicken skin. Hi, we're back. I've pulled the chicken skin out of the oven. You can see it in the pan. It's brown. It took about 25 minutes. About 10 minutes in, I went ahead and unstuck it using my tongs. I unstuck it from the sheet. I'm just going to pull it off. It's a little flimsy still, but as it sits on our tray and cools, it's going to get nice and crispy and crunchy. I also turned our chicken in the pot off. It's done its 10 minutes. Now it just needs to rest for half an hour and cook all the way through. The oil, the chicken grease in this pan, we're going to pour right into a container. We're going to use that in our chicken nugget batter. Flavors it really, really well. Also flavors mashed potatoes. Use it in place of a little bit of butter. And you can use some chicken broth that we're going to make in a little bit in place of your milk. And it flavors it so good. Okay, in this pan that we just emptied the grease off of, we're going to put just a little bit of coconut oil. I've had this sitting close to the oven so that it warmed up. Just a little bit of extra oil. We're going to take our tongs, just kind of smear it all around. And those chicken wings that we've had sitting to the side, we're going to go ahead and grab our chicken wings that have been sitting to the side, marinating. We're going to place these all on the tray. They've got that little bit of sauce all over them. Some of them I've cut apart, some I've left whole. Some have the little wing tips on, some don't. I'm going to put them all on here. They need to have a little space between them. They don't need to be on top of each other, but they can be pretty close to each other. And the sauce left in the bowl, you don't want to use that for anything. You could dump it over and let it kind of cook in its own juices, but then your wings really won't get crispy at all. So you're just going to put them all on your pan. There we go. You can tell we had a good number of chickens here. Go ahead and sprinkle a little more sea salt on there. And these are going to go in our oven for half an hour. When they come out, our chicken or baked chicken in here, roasted chicken, will be ready to come out also. And our chicken in the pot will be ready to be out of the pot. So let's get these in the oven. Say hi to our roasted chicken. That's looking so lovely. Set our timer for half an hour. At that time, a lot of things are going to be done. And as soon as everything comes out of the oven, it'll also be time to pull our chicken nuggets out and put the batter on them. So everything's cooking. We're going to make our batter. We've got that coconut. We've got the chicken grease. My mind's on coconut. Chicken grease. That's going to go in a little mixing bowl. If you want to add a little more oil, you can. We're going to add in some flour. I'm doing just under 3/4 cup of flour. A little bit of salt. I'm going to crack some black pepper. Put that in here. Remember, you don't have to do a lot of seasoning on this because your chicken is well seasoned already. And I did want to mention in our chicken nuggets that we did in the processor, if you're trying to do more organ meat, like your livers and your hearts, kidneys, you can put those in there, just a few, and process that through. Kids seem to really love it when there's liver in there. We know what other chicken nuggets taste like, and we notice it, but they seem to really enjoy it. So we're going to just take a fork and mix this through. I've got milk. Got some whole milk here. We like to use raw milk. We go across the border to South Carolina and pick up some raw milk occasionally. And you're just going to mix this. You want it to be a little thicker than a pancake batter. And I'll show you what it looks like as soon as we get it to that consistency. Because you want it to really coat the nuggets and you don't want it to pool underneath them. So now it's kind of almost paste. We're going to add just a little bit of milk at this time. And you just keep mixing it. It all depends how much oil you put in. You can also add an egg to this if you want. It'll make it a little more pancakey. We're not going for a pancake batter though. But if you have any batter left when you're done, you can add an egg to it. Throw in a little bit of corn pieces, and then once it's mixed, you can cook it like a pancake and you'll have some really tasty corn pancakes. Okay, we're getting just a little bit closer. It's runny now. When I pull it up and drop it, it spreads out. So it's getting almost to what we want. We want it so the surface, when it sits, is pretty much flat, but it's not super runny. There we go. I'll show you what it looks like. Kind of just like that. Be a really thick pancake batter or waffle batter. All right, so we'll see you back here in just a few more minutes. We'll pull everything out of the oven, we'll get the chicken out of the pot, and we'll get our nuggets out of the freezer, get them dipped and in the oven. we've pulled our chicken out of the oven. This is our broiled, well, our baked chicken. We're going to put it on a platter. It needs to sit for at least 10 to 15 minutes while it rests. We're also going to go ahead and pour all of our chicken juices and chicken grease. We're going to pour that right into our batter for our chicken nuggets. That's going to give us an extra flavor. Mix that in while we can before we go any further. And this is the time also, if you want to have leftover chicken from your roasted chicken, do that now. Separate it out once it has cooled before you put it out for everybody to eat. Otherwise, you will not have leftover chicken. It never survives in our house. If it's just you, you can control yourself. If it comes to kids, they tend to really enjoy a roasted chicken and will eat it all up before you could even get some usually. So we've got that blended in. Our chicken is resting. We also have, this aside, our chicken in the pot that has sat for half an hour. You can see the steam coming off. That's also going to go on a platter. And once it cools, you can pick anything you want off of here. It makes a great chicken salad. Again, if you were boiling a whole chicken, it would need to rest for an hour in here before you pulled it out. You can leave the skin on or take the skin off. Once that's rested and cooled, you can pick it, chop it up, make a chicken salad with some fresh dill, a little bit of lime, and some mayonnaise. Or one of my favorites is crushed red grapes and some pecans and a little bit of mayonnaise and Dijon mustard. So we're going to set that aside to cool. Our roasted chicken is resting. This water right here in the pan is full of all those flavors. We're going to set that aside after we toss in our chicken back that came out of the roasting chicken. Once we have our bones from our boiled chicken and any bones left from our roasting chicken, we're going to go ahead and add those back into that pot. And that's what we make our chicken bone stock from. We'll talk a little bit more about that later because I want to get these chicken wings out of the oven. There we go. Here are our chicken wings. Now with these, we can go ahead and throw them in a tray or a bowl. If you wanted them more of a restaurant style, what you would do is once they've cooled, you would freeze these. You wouldn't serve them like this. You would go ahead and freeze them. And then when you're ready for them, toss them is exactly what you would do. You would put them in a pan of boiling oil. Hot oil. Use coconut oil if you're going the Whole Foods way. Definitely use your coconut oil. And you're going to fry them up. Remember, they're frozen, so you're going to fry them for 5 to 6 minutes, and they're going to give you that super crispy skin that you look for naked wings at a restaurant. You could also use a batter. We just like them without anything on them, just the flavorings that we added. And those are our chicken wings. We've got our chicken nuggets out of the freezer. They've been chilling for about an hour. After about half an hour, they're firm, but I really like them to be extra firm. We've also lined a pan with foil, our roasting pan. Our oven is still on 450 degrees. What I did after I lined it, I put a little bit of coconut oil in there and smeared it all around, stuck it in the oven so the pan and the coconut oil are hot. We've got our batter. We're going to drop in a few of these hard nuggets. Get them coated nice and neat. And we're going to put them right on the pan. Just like so. That's a nice hot pan. That'll help keep a little bit of the coating from going everywhere. It'll also start warming through that chicken and the batter. I'll go ahead and do a few more. Now at this point, if you wanted to batter them and freeze them, you would just throw them back on the pan that you had them in the freezer before. And then freeze them once they were fully frozen. Probably give them another half an hour to an hour. You can pull them off the tray and put them in a baggie or a glass container. And then they're ready to go in the oven, 450-degree oven. And you're going to do them frozen like that when they've been in the freezer that long. You're going to want to do them for about 25-30 minutes. Start checking them at 25 minutes. These, since they've only been in there maybe an hour, they're going to take about 20 minutes. We're going to check them at 20. They may take a little longer, but I'm guessing around 20. So we're going to get these in our oven. Last one. Remember, you can make pancakes with the leftover batter when you have some. Put these in the oven. And then our pot that we've got sitting here, while we were on a break, I went ahead and picked our chicken off the bones. So we're going to throw the rest of these bones. We got 2 chicken carcasses. We got all kinds of stuff. When you have those wings, if you have wing bones left, go ahead and drop those in there. We got our roasted chicken, our boiled chicken. We'll go ahead and chill our chicken that we took off the bone. And in this, we want to cover it with water. And you can, I leave the lid off. You can put the lid on. I leave it off and just let it boil away. It usually takes all day for what the texture I like it. And what I do is just every hour or so I check on it, add some more water. I take a potato masher or a flat bottom cup. Let's see if I can show you something like this that's completely flat. And I'll mash it down in there when it's gotten low and it's cooked for at least a few hours. I'll mash the bones to get all the marrow out of inside of there, and it makes the most beautiful stock. Your chicken stock will not be clear when you do that. It'll be a white color. When it heats up, it'll go clear, but when it's chilled, it'll be white and it'll be very gelatinous. And you're just going to cook it all day. I usually throw my bones in the pot at night once everyone's done eating and everything, stick it in the fridge, and then I just start it cooking the next morning. When I get up, it goes right on there and it's covered in water. So a lid for the night, and in the morning it'll cook up. And I'll show you in just a minute what it looks like. This is what it looks like. And if you can see that, it's very jello-y. Gelled, wiggle, wiggle, jiggle, jiggle. It's not completely clear. And if I mashed the bones more, it would probably be even more white colored. There you go. And our chicken nuggets are in the oven. We're going to give those a little while, and we'll be back to see what those look like. And we'll be done for the day. We'll have done 2 whole chickens, made up several different items, and got a lot accomplished. And we're back for our final segment. We've got our chicken nuggets out of the oven. They look like little flying saucers because I just stuck them right in the oven. I did not freeze them ahead of time. If you want to prevent the flying saucer effect, I don't know if you can see this, you would freeze them ahead of time or cook them in oil, deep fry them in oil. Then they won't do that. In the pan, there's no way to prevent that unless you freeze them ahead of time. Probably I would have helped a little if I had gone slower and just shaken them off a little more. But I kind of like that. It's got these crispy, crunchy edges, and my daughter just goes wild for them. So crispy. What we're going to try now is I want to show you a quick recipe for honey mustard. See if you can see a picture of that. You're going to have homemade mayonnaise. There's a half homemade mayonnaise, a quarter homemade mustard, a quarter of raw honey, and then I've chopped up some baby green onions. That's what's right in the center. You can also use scallions. You can use shallots. You can use onions. We're just going to mix it all together. Just mix round and round and round, and it makes the perfect honey mustard sauce. You don't have to use the onions, by the way. You don't have to use any of that. The basic is just the half mayo and then the quarter honey, quarter mustard. So if you're using 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, it'd be, of course, the 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, and then 1 tablespoon of mustard and 1 tablespoon of raw honey. That's what it looks like. You can, I used just plain, I made a deli style mustard. You can also use it to make a Dijon mustard. I'm going to grab a plate, put this on here, grab some yummy chicken nuggets, and I am off to eat my dinner. I hope you enjoyed our time. We made a lot of things today, including crispy skin chicken, and talked about bone stock, and we learned how to make honey mustard. I'll see you here again. Have a happy cooking day. Sweetie, can you come get your wings?
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
Chicken skin. Yummy. So good.
What are you doing?
Eating
What are you eating?
chicken skin.
Do you think you've had enough? Do you think you can eat the whole piece?
Mm-hmm.